Hi everyone, welcome to this week's video. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sarah and I like to make videos for fun about beauty, makeup, skincare, what I'm using. I like to make a lot of shop my stash videos using what I already have, project panning, so check out those playlists below. I know I missed my video post last week. It was just kind of a rough week. I was feeling a little under the weather. It was also spring break, so I was out of town for a couple days and I just kind of got behind. So thank you for understanding. But this week I am back and I decided to do kind of a little bit of like speed reviews almost of some products that I have purchased semi-recently, some a couple months, but that I've definitely used enough to have some thoughts on. So I'm going to be rating them, purchase or pass. So thinking some of the things I'll be thinking about when I'm doing these reviews is, you know, do I like the product and the way it performs? And then on top of that, do I think all of that made it worth the price tag that I paid? So not necessarily thinking about would I repurchase this, but do I think it was worth the money that I spent? There's a few things I will say, even if I say that I would pass on it, they will stay in my collection and I will use them up. I'm just kind of trying to reiterate that even though sometimes a product works well or works okay, that still doesn't necessarily, in my mind, make it worth the price tag. So I hope that makes sense. So without further ado, let's jump into some purchase or pass reviews. All right, so I'm kind of gonna try and go in order of, how we would do our makeup. So let's start with some skincare first. The first one I have is this Peach and Lily Glass Skin Refining Serum. Now, I bought this maybe a month or two ago. It was in the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale, and so it was 50% off. So I will say that was definitely, it's just like clear, nice serum. So that was definitely good to get it half priced. So I'm also thinking about, would I pay full price for this again when I run out, now that I've used this for a couple of weeks? And right now, I think yes, I would. So I do think this is worth a purchase. It is a nice consistency of a serum. It's not too thick, but it's not too watery. For my liking, it's just that perfect in between. So I really do feel like once I rub it in, I do get that glass skin feeling. And I think also some of my opinion comes from before in my skincare routine, I was using a couple of different serums on top of each other from The Ordinary, and I really did not like that. I didn't like those serums. They were like a little too thick and gloopy, and then the fact that they had recommended using so many on top of each other, it just felt very heavy and thick. So going from that to this has been a huge difference, and it just feels a lot lighter and cleaner. So far I'm really enjoying this, and I would think this is worth the purchase and the money. The next item I have is the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Primer, the Dew Primer. This went viral and then they brought it back, and I was able to get my hands on it when they restocked it back in January, I think. So far, absolutely loving this. It's definitely, it says it's a dew primer, but I also think it's gripping as well. So it's not quite as gripping as the gripping primer from e.l.f., but I think it's a nice in between of being kind of dewy, grippy, silicone-y without being overly sticky or thick. So far I am really enjoying this, and I think this is worth a purchase. Let's move on to a concealer. This is the Flower Beauty Get Real Serum Concealer. I have the shade Ivory. So again, I'm not sure if this is necessarily the best color choice for me. It was hard to kind of determine that. It has an interesting applicator. It's a very like short and stubby doe foot, and there's what it looks like swiped on. So it definitely is like a slightly thinner consistency, but honestly, for something calling itself a serum concealer, I thought it would maybe be a little thinner. So far, I have not really enjoyed this, and again, I don't know if it's because it's a color mismatch or the texture or the combination of both of those things, but this would definitely be a pass for me. I am wearing it underneath my eyes today, and I just feel like it kind of is accentuating some of my lines, and it kind of is settling. It is a little difficult for me to blend in as well. So this is unfortunately a pass for me. I am going to keep it in my collection and keep using it, but I just don't think that it performs well. So even if you get it on sale or pay regular price for it, it's a drugstore product, I personally just don't think it's worth it. Next, we have a couple of blushes. This one I know you might be sick of hearing about. It's the Bare Minerals Bronzer in Kiss of Pink. If you've watched any of my Shop My Stash videos or any of my previous videos, you know I'm like obsessed with this. This is so good. It's a perfect mix to me of that like sheen, but not being overly shiny, if that makes sense. It just brings a nice glow to my face when I wear this. So much so that in my last Shop My Stash video, I had to very actively keep reminding myself to not choose this. I had to pick something else because I've been using the heck out of this since I bought it. I definitely think this is worth the hype and the price, so definitely a purchase for me. I'm actually thinking about picking up another one in a different color. That's how much I've been enjoying this. So yes, highly recommend. Definitely consider this a purchase. I also recently had picked up another blush from the Essence The Blush line. This is in the shade Be Fitting, number 10. I also have Believing, number 70. So Be Fitting and Beloved. So definitely a little more mauvey pink, a little bit of a lighter pink. I love these. I think they are so good. I love that they're a matte blush. The price tag you cannot beat. These are like $3, and there have even been times where I think I found both of these on sale for like $1.99. They perform really well for me. They are long lasting. They work well with the other powder products on my face, and the color payoff is there. That's the other thing. I've definitely purchased some drugstore or lower end blushes before where there's just no pigmentation and you really have to build it up. That is not the case with these, so these are an absolute purchase for me. Next, let's move on to eyes. So I have two eyeshadow palettes. The first is the Urban Decay Wild West mini palette. This is a semi-recent purchase for me. I picked this up around the holidays from Ulta. It was on sale for half off, so I think normally this retails for $27 and I got it half off, so I got it for about $13, $14. And I have it in my everyday makeup drawer now. I've used it a number of times, all the colors. And you know, Urban Decay shadows, they always work really well and perform well. But if I'm being 100% honest, at the end of the day, I think this palette is just average. I think that's about where I ranked it in my eyeshadow ranking video, which I will link below. The colors are nice. It looks interesting because it's got this pop of green. But at the end of the day, if you pay full price for this, $27, I just think there are so many other palettes out there, especially at the drugstore price point, where you could get very similar look for less than half the cost and maybe even have a different color variety and maybe, you know, similarly performing shadows. So again, while I'm enjoying this and I'm glad I have it in my collection, I would maybe consider this a pass just based on the number of shadows and the color story. The next palette I have is the Sahara palette from Alter Ego. This is supposed to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona Biba palette. This 100% loving ever since I got it. I am wearing it today. It's definitely a neutral palette, more on the brown, like that burnt orange side, but it's got a few really pretty shimmers, but the rest of it is matte, which I really enjoy. I've used all of these colors. They all blend really well. And for the price point, this is $20. It cannot be beat. This versus paying like $100 for the actual Biba palette is just like crazy pants to me. So this is definitely a purchase and I highly recommend, and it makes me want to check out more of the Alter Ego palettes. Sticking with the eyes, I have two eyeshadow sticks from the Hard Candy Eye Def line. I have had a Cold Brew for a number of months. I think I bought this before Christmas, and then I recently picked up Bubbly. So we've got kind of this coppery brown and this champagne color. Absolutely love these. I use these almost every single day. I always put the copper one right underneath to kind of line my waterline, and this I like to put in my inner corner. They work so well. They are very creamy and they haven't dried out on me. This one I've definitely had longer. Haven't dried out on me. The bottom pops out to become a sharpener, so you can always make sure that you've got that point for getting up under there and smudging it out. They are super affordable. There's a couple of other different colors that I would be interested in picking up, but these so far out of the eyeshadow sticks I've tried before, these are my favorite ones. So these are definitely a purchase for me. Next, I think I talked about this in my last Shop My Stash video. I have been on the hunt for brown liquid liner. Ever since I used the Fenty Beauty one, maybe like a year ago, and loved it, I was like, I think I want to have more brown liners in my life. But the Fenty Beauty one's like $21 or $28, and that's just a high price point for me for a liquid liner. So I have been trying out the Flower Beauty brown liner and the Hard Candy. So let me swatch them because they both work well, but are slightly different tones of brown, which I actually enjoy. So the first one that I had purchased was the Flower Beauty one. So that is the top swatch. It's definitely a little more toned down. You can see it's a much lighter brown. It's a little more on the liquidy side, if that makes sense. Not in a bad way. They both do dry down fairly quickly, so they stay in place all day. So I like the performance, but this is definitely a lighter brown. And then the Hard Candy is the darker brown. So it just kind of depends. If I'm going for a softer look, I'll pull out the Flower. If I want a more hard line or like edge to the look, I'll pull out the Hard Candy. Both of them, I believe, are like $10 and under, so I think that is a great price point in comparison to the Fenty Beauty. So I definitely would consider both of these purchases, especially over the Fenty Beauty. Although that one is still great, I love that one too and would recommend it and say it's a good performing one, but you can get this very similar look in either one of these for half the price. Next, we have two mascaras. This first one, you probably already know how I feel because I talked about it a couple of times since using it. It's the L'Oreal Air Volume mascara. This I hate. This is definitely hard pass. So hard that I decluttered it from my collection during my last Shop My Stash video, even though it's not empty. It's just so clumpy. I don't know if that's like showing, but like that whole end part is just clumped mascara, and it just, I don't know, it just does not look good on my lashes. It was very clumpy, it was very wet. So on top of being wet and clumpy, it was just like messy. Like you can kind of see on the bottle, like it just, I don't know, it was just not for me. I want something that's a little lighter so that my lashes stay lifted. Because of the clump and the wetness, this I felt like weighed them down. I want something that separates. This did not do that. And I personally like that medium place of wet versus dry with my mascara. So this was definitely way too wet for me. Do not recommend, hard pass, total waste of my money. My next mascara is I wouldn't say it's necessarily a brand new purchase. It kind of is. It's the CoverGirl Lash Blast Clean. I've had so many Lash Blast mascaras in my lifetime. I've just never used the clean one. But because of that, I already knew that I would probably like it. I just wanted to try out the clean because, you know, cleaner ingredients, always a good idea to try out. Plus I liked the color. This love, I would definitely purchase this again, and I think it's worth the money. I know it has mixed reviews that I've seen from other people. Some people are just not impressed by it. But again, like I just explained with the last one, the Lash Blast to me is that perfect in between of being wet but dry. It's just a nice light formula that I feel like separates my lashes. They stay lifted. It's not messy. It's easy for me to clean off at the end of the day. So definitely a mascara that I have been enjoying using, especially when I was coming off of using this. Switching to this was just so refreshing and a nice change of pace. So the last thing I have is two lipsticks. They are both from Lawless. I picked both of these up at TJ Maxx for I think about $6 or $7 each, which is a huge price cut from what they normally cost. I have the shades Fawn and Wedding Day. I'm wearing Fawn today. They are very similar, so let me swatch these. So Wedding Day is on top, Fawn is on the bottom, so you can see Wedding Day is a little pinker, Fawn's a little more neutral. So because of that, I don't think you would need both. They're so similar. You could just pick one or the other. I just got sucked in by seeing the price point at TJ Maxx. But in all honesty, I don't know, this is a hard one because I'm trying to consider the fact that if I had not found these for $6.99 or whatever I paid, I absolutely would not buy these full price. I would never pay more than like $10 for a lipstick, in my opinion, like a bullet lipstick. And at the end of the day, these give me a very similar feel to those e.l.f. O Faced lipsticks. So if we're talking about full price, these would be a pass. But if you find them at somewhere like TJ Maxx and they haven't been tampered with and they're not expired, I think they are worth a look. But I wouldn't go out of your way necessarily to be like searching high and low for these, if that makes sense. They're nice. I feel like they could be slightly creamier. They're maybe on a little bit of the dry side when it comes to a lipstick formula for my preferences. So this is a really hard one, but I think at the end of the day, I would say pass. Again, like the Naked eyeshadow palette, they're definitely still going to stay in my collection and I'm going to use them and enjoy them. I do like them, but I just don't think that they're worth the price, and the performance of them is just so average that I would rather just find different products than tell someone to go out and spend 20 something dollars on this, if that makes sense. So that was all the products that I had to talk through today, just a couple of things that I had purchased in the past couple of months and been able to use consistently enough to feel like I had a solid opinion on. If you like this style of video, the purchase or pass as sort of speed reviews, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below if you want to see more like this. I would appreciate it if you would subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you are notified of all of my upcoming videos. I typically post once a week on Thursdays. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye.